Highway 20 update, just a reminder that have the public information meeting for the reconstruction on N14 is scheduled for January 18th from 5 to 7 p.m. at the Stack Community Center. That'll be just an informal meeting like they've held on the other projects where they lay out the maps and they've got people around to answer questions. I plan on attending to see what's...
If they do their do this reconstruction, are they going to just use one of their borrow pits for the dirt that they might need?
That's a good question. I guess I don't know the answer to that.
I mean, you'd think it would make sense that they've got them right there,
Yeah.
rather than digging out of them.
The only thing with dirt is it's the hauling distance that kills you on some of that. So,
Well, they've got a big one there right at the intersection of N14 and New 20.
yeah, I don't know. That'd be something to check out. Typically at those meetings, they have several copies of the layout, the aerial photos with the layout on it. And typically they give us one of those when they're done. So, and it should have any borrow pits locations marked on it.
I assume they'll need dirt if they're going to widen it and reconstruct it.
Yeah, I would too. I don't think they'll. I don't know if they'd get enough from their ditch section to build that up or not. Although I'm sure they aren't going to put it as high in the air as they did New 20.
Well, they've got it's a good size overpass anyway, so it'll be, won't they just align it with what's currently there on the other side that's not there?
Right, when they get to the north end where the on and off ramps are, they'll have to go back to existing.
Because that's still our road and we aren't changing it.
Right. But when you get south to where the bridges are, they might be a foot or two higher than what they are now. I guess I'm not sure. And as they go further south, I can see where they might be a couple feet higher than what our existing.
Yeah, but they still have to meet once you're through the intersection. It still has to line up with that.
But they're going to take that whole road and move the whole thing east. So,
Are they?
yeah.
How does that realign then with N14 north of the new grade?
It's going to have to line up.
How far north will they go to get it back in?
They'll taper back, I think, from the bridges back to the on-ramps. They taper back. Because through under the bridges, if you notice, the
piles of dirt.
Yeah, the slopes are the road. You can tell it's going to be moved to the east. And I don't know how they're going to do that if they don't get that done before.
They have the acreage of Oscar Kraft. That's what they're trying to get away from. They've got to have distance to the east.
But will they be back in alignment before they get to that intersection to the north?
Yeah,
Will have to be.
yeah.
That's not very far. That's going to be pretty sharp.
That's a quarter mile.
Yeah.
But
they'll have to angle over.
Yeah.
But their move over distance isn't very far. I mean, it's not very far.
No,
Like you said, it's up to the ramps.
It's only, I think they're moving it off the side, maybe center line of the road's probably going to move 30 feet.
That's what I was going to guess.
Speed limit's the same,
Yeah.
when you think about it.
Oh, that wouldn't be so bad.
Yeah, they're only, and then
County road, it's still
Yeah.
55.
Yeah.
but from the initial stuff I've seen,
If you're
they're
going
going to stay, they're going to move the whole road to the east until they get almost down to Greenlees, and then they'll bring it back into the existing intersection there. And part of that project too, and I don't know if it's going to be part of this at the same time, but they were talking about replacing the bridge, down there over the cedar. So,
Oh, really?
it's over
Down where?
Just south of Highway.
south of 20.
Yeah. That fellow that was in that, we're gonna do one bridge and then the other one down farther south.
Yeah.
If I remember the discussion, they're gonna replace both bridges and then
On one
at
end
that
of the
time, then they might change it from 196, but it'll be called 196
An extension of 196.
until at least those bridge projects are done at that time. That might be something, you know.
But this first bridge they might do as part of this project, but I guess I'm not sure whether they will or not.
Hasn't been left.
No, they gotta have this
This
public
working.
hearing.
We have-
Yeah, the public hearing might tell you that.
Yeah, it might tell you how far they plan on going with that project. I would,
That's a good size bridge.
it might be though with trying to speed this thing through and get the N14 part reconstructed, they might not include that bridge project with it just because I think the bridge would slow it down. You know, take more time for development and, you know, and construction. So they might not do that at the same time. Anyway, we'll know more. It's what, 2 weeks from today?
You know, the people from the public, you know, once that road's done in 2 years, the people have been used to not stopping on these county roads. If you've been out of it, say you've been gone for a couple of years or haven't been on it, you come bombing along and you haven't stopped for 30 years, and you wonder if we'll have some, if it's foggy or,
Yeah.
but not, you know. You can't put flashing lights on the stop signs to draw people's attention to it.
I'm curious, when they eventually do turn that into 71 and the old one becomes county road, whatever, who's got the stop sign?
Stop sign.
Will 71 be through traffic?
I don't know what they're gonna do. I would suspect that that's what they would wanna do with that.
I think we ought to resist allowing them to change that to 71, because old 71 is still gonna have a ton of traffic on it.
And hopefully that's a long ways down the road before they even start.
If they were to make 196-71 and then try and give old 71 to Sac County,
Well, it'll still
there'll
be 175.
be 175 to the west, but they're gonna try and give the 71 from there
north.
right up to early to Sac County, and I think there's gonna be a ton of traffic on it yet. They'll use 196 to some extent, yes, but there's still gonna be a great deal of traffic coming up on old 71. So I think we need to resist taking it back and
Just make that the new 196.
well, just they really both need. My point is they both need to still be state roads because they're going to be heavily trafficked, both of them.
Yeah, I don't know how soon.
Just because they make old 196 or want to make 196 new 71 doesn't mean that folks are going to go to 196 to come to the north. There's still going to be a ton of traffic on the old 71, in my opinion.
I mean, I think the thing we want to watch for or be aware of is they don't do a bill in the legislature that transfers like they did when we got
Wall Lake and
Wall Lake.
Lakewood.
Yeah.
But there's some snow issues there. Isn't there 2 pretty good sized bridges?
Oh,
That one cut.
yeah, there's one bad one in there, really bad.
And I just think, if 80% of the traffic was then going to use 196, then you could understand that. But I don't think they will. I think that road's still going to be very heavily trafficked.
Yeah, especially with Highway 39, we have a lot of trucks come up from Denison and run over here to 71. Some go north and then 43.
Yeah, there's a lot of go north.
And they're still going to have
Especially
access to 20 that way.
Until the 4-lane gets done from early west. You're right. They'll come up from Denison and they'll want to get on the divided highway as quickly as possible.
And so they're going to use that.
Then they won't take that county road north of Oldebolt. They'll come east on the pretty good road. You know?
But again, that'll all have to be negotiated.
Well, you know, and that big grain terminal would have been building south of Burley.
That's right.
That's true.
It's another big issue because a lot of the very large farms from that Odebolt area could be using that.
That grain terminal.
that